In Brooklyn, I created a neighborhood that didn't exist. And that takes a tremendous amount of work. I literally went around to stores on the corners and I paid for them to redo. I told them if they redo their front window, I'm going to buy them a new sign. I started on the corner, Washington, from where I did all my other projects.
And tell the audience what Washington is. It's Brooklyn, Manhattan, Bronx. Where is it?
Sorry, it's again. Today we call it downtown Brooklyn. It's a block. It's 2 blocks from the Barclays Stadium.
So you went from Prospect, which is south of Brooklyn Stadium, I guess Barclays.
Yes.
So you went up north. And how was it in 2010? It wasn't so.
No, it wasn't.
It was horrible.
It was horrible. It wasn't good at all. I was able to pick up properties on the low side.
And how did you know they were low? Like, what told you that?
Because 5 blocks further down, up to 4th Avenue, you see tremendous price jumps. So and there's a reason why, because the people didn't come down to these blocks. They stayed the 4th Avenue with the trains, with the bus, with everything there.
Like Carroll Gardens.
Yes. So it wasn't a competition because the community was way better. Everything was way better. So
it wasn't rezoned also, right? There was no rezoning there?
There was none at the time.
But now we know it as the skyscrapers in Brooklyn there, right?
Right. Now it's like that whole area has been transformed. I mean, when I was selling them, right, for $600 a foot, by a few years later, they were trading already for almost $1,000 a foot. So it grew right away.
Let me ask you a question. Your intuition brought you there, or what brought you there?
My intuition.
You were like, this is
because I wanted to do something. I wanted to create. Development was something that I always wanted to do, and I felt like, hey, this is, I can make this work. It was much, as I said, it was much cheaper. Like with the knowledge that I have today, would I've done that? No, because
Why?
But
what is it that you did?
What I did was I created a neighborhood. And
in Brooklyn,
I created a neighborhood that didn't exist. And that takes a tremendous amount of work. I literally went around to stores on the corners and I paid for them to redo. I told them if they redo their front window, I'm going to buy them a new sign. In the store, because they had these like ripped signs hanging down. So it wasn't just, it was building an entire neighborhood and then the marketing for it. And then the entire time, as I was saying, a lot of developers, wannabe developers, they come in, I find a property and they'll build, they'll be busy. And then it comes in the end, they'll hire a marketing team. Okay, so we sell it. Who's your target audience or what? And they want to know a bunch of questions, but you can't start marketing at the end. You have to know in the beginning what you're trying to accomplish, who you're attracting, what type of people you're after, what family size. Are you after singles? Are you after married? Are you after families? Because you have to build accordingly.
So let me get this straight.
So some people have they'll do a little bit of everything. They'll do a little 3-bedroom, a little 2-bedroom, and 1-bedroom. So whoever comes can come. But if you really want to target and you really want to get a certain for the building, you have to know the target audience. What type of people are going to buy here?
So you went to Brooklyn downtown.
And I decided not to go for families. In other words, I didn't build for family because I thought family schools here. I don't know if the schools weren't good versus like going a little bit up to 4th Avenue in Brooklyn.
We're talking about Brooklyn downtown.
We're talking only about Brooklyn downtown. Yes.
So you went there. And you started exploring. And you said no families. What was your first project in Brooklyn downtown? Tell me.
So that was the first one was on Pacific Street, 925 Pacific Street.
925 Pacific?
Then I had 935 Pacific, then 957.
Are these commercial, residential?
These are all residential buildings.
Residential units?
Residential
Were
units.
They ground up? Were they construction projects?
All ground up.
So you purchased the land?
Purchased the land. Some were purchased land. Some I purchased old industrial buildings that were demolished. Everything was ground up, brand new.
And what made you go and buy Pacific Street specifically? What guided you there? Was it the price? Was it where it was located? What was the issue?
It was located right off on Washington Avenue, which I felt was a very nice avenue, and I felt that this is going to get only better. And the price was extremely affordable.
And how many units was it? How many units?
The first one was 15 units, then added 10 units, then another 18 units, then another 25 units. Then
Did you have investors at this point?
Yes, everything had to have investors, because you need investors for the equity, and then you need to getting the loans. Now, starting off, the loans weren't easy to get as well.
Why is that?
Because I was never developer. I'm coming to a bank. Oh, I'm going to build. And the guy said, okay, and your resume, what did you do till now? And I said, I was a special ed teacher. I was helping. And the guy said, okay, thank you.
So how did
I
you
went
get
around to 30. I think it was almost. I think the lender, CPC Bank. Oh, what a special bank that was. Robert Riggs then was the president. He was taking care of it, and I was trying to pitch him the deal, and he asked me a question. We have a limited amount of money that we give out for construction loans. Why would we pick you, for example, who never, you didn't do anything before? Like, I'm only have, let's say, a certain amount of money. I want to give it to the people that have the most experience.
Right. And how did you pitch them?
And I was telling him, I came up, you have to see this design. I came up with an interesting design where after you cross 2,000 square feet, you have to have 2 means of egress, 2 staircases. The loss factor gets bigger. I designed the building in a way where it overlaps, and it's 1 foot less. It's actually 3,000 square foot floor plates, but because I made these double heights all over, I made it 1 foot less than 2,000, and I don't have the loss factor. And basically, in my entire building, the way I designed it, I have less than 3% loss factor in the building. And he says, that can't be.
And what did you tell him?
And I told him, okay, so if I come back and I show you exactly how
would you give it to me?
Would you give it to me? And he stands up and he gives me his hand and he says, yes.
Really?
Yeah. I said, give me a week, I'll come back, I'll show you.
And you proved it to him?
And I proved it to him, and he smiled, and he tells me the same thing. Your passion is going to open every door you want.
And Eli,
it's Robert Riggs, and it's so funny. It's been for so long. These first compliments are the ones that like
mattered to you.
Mattered, and
Did
that
it
was
feel
my path.
Did it feel impossible at times when you were?
It felt impossible, and a lot of times I used to, like, at night I was going, say, why did I get into this? How like.
You were pulled like so many ways. Equity, raising debt.
This and that.
And you weren't flush with money too, right?
The good thing was that being a developer then was a prestigious thing in the city. In other words, I needed my approvals. I needed everything. They literally worked along with me when I needed to go for my planning and stuff like that. Later on, it just changed. It turned into like, let's try to squeeze them out. Let's try to get, on every violation, everything. Like
this is
the city. I'm talking, when I started off, the city wasn't like that. The city was very pro business.
Development.
Very.
Who was the mayor at that moment?
I think it was Bloomberg.
Bloomberg was mayor.
Yeah.
So when did that city development intuition change? When did it go from, you're in the black to you're in the red, in terms of like the notion of we want to develop with you?
Again, once Blasio came in, everything like started, like everything shifted to almost like you're the villain here. Like you were treated like a villain.
But Bloomberg, you were.
Yeah. It was very
there was
extremely
opportunity.
busy. There was opportunity. It was very easy. And later on, they just made complications to build, to get permits, to so much more difficult every step of the way.